So I want you to imagine buying a piece of prime real estate, like right here on Earth.
Okay, yeah.
You pay good money for it. You hold the official deed in your hand. But there's one, like, massive catch.
Which is what?
Nobody's actually allowed to build roads to it. So you own it, but you literally cannot reach it.
Right, and obviously nobody else can reach it either.
Exactly. But the crazy thing is, right now, millions of people are doing exactly that in the digital world. They are just, buying up these absolutely useless digital coordinates, holding on to them, and just hoping someone will somehow pay a premium for them later.
Which is, I mean, a terrible strategy.
It really is. So welcome to today's deep dive. We are taking a hard look at a concept that completely flips how we view digital assets. Specifically, we are exploring .sol domains on the Solana network. We're tossing out the idea that these are just, random crypto collectibles to flip, and instead we're exploring this massive paradigm shift. We're treating them as actual digital real estate.
And it really is a huge shift in thinking.
It really is. But before we get into it, brought to you by Negotiate.name. The simple way to bid on a curated collection of over 3,000 Solana domains without locking up your Solana. Browse premium .sol names, make it limited offers, and see what you can negotiate before anyone else does.
Right, so getting back to it.
Yeah, okay, let's unpack this because the journey we are going on today is going to completely change how you look at the digital spaces you interact with every single day. We're going to look at why a technical wallet desperately needs a human front door, how you even measure digital traffic when there are literally zero cars, and why some names are basically Manhattan skyscrapers while others are just, empty desert lots.
Yeah, and it's a complete reframing of the landscape. And frankly, it's a necessary one if you want to understand where the internet is actually heading.
Definitely.
Because when you stop looking at a .sol domain as just like a random string of characters on a screen, and you start looking at it as a location, a literal functional destination inside a digital economy, I mean, everything about how you value that asset completely changes.
Right. It moves from being a speculative toy to being, fundamental infrastructure.
Exactly.
But to understand why that infrastructure is necessary, we kind of have to talk about how we actually navigate blockchain networks right now. Because honestly, for the average person, it is total mess.
Oh, it's a nightmare for the average user, yeah.
Right. Like currently, if you want someone to send you funds, or if you want to use a decentralized app, you have to use a wallet address, which is essentially this terrifyingly long string of random numbers and letters.
Yeah, it's just raw cryptography. To use an analogy, it's basically the exact equivalent of inviting a friend over for dinner, but instead of giving them your street address, you text them the exact latitude and longitude of your dining room table.
Oh man, that is exactly what it feels like.
Right. I mean, it is technically accurate, yes, but functionally, it's completely useless for a normal human being.
Totally. I mean, I look at those raw coordinates and I just get instantly anxious. I'm checking the first three letters, checking the last three letters, and just sort of praying I didn't mess up the middle somehow.
Yeah, the anxiety is real.
But how exactly does a domain name fix that? Like, under the hood, what is actually happening when I type in a .sol domain instead of pasting that massive string of letters? Is it completely replacing my wallet?
No, your underlying wallet address stays exactly the same. The blockchain, it still relies on those complex coordinates to function securely.
Okay, so what did the domain actually do then?
What the domain does is act as a translation layer. So think of it like a digital phone book that just sits on top of the network. When someone types, say, mike.sol, the system instantly looks up the underlying coordinates and writes the transaction perfectly.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it basically hides all the messy, complicated wiring from the user, leaving only this nice, clean, readable name.
So it's essentially this cosmetic front door that handles the translation for you. But, I have to play devil's advocate and push back a little here.
Sure, go for it.
If I am just a casual user, maybe I buy a digital ticket once in a while or send $10 to a friend twice a year, why do I need to care about having a digital front door? Like, isn't this just a luxury flex for crypto power users?
Well, what's fascinating here is the underlying psychology of why this matters, even for a casual user. It might feel like a luxury right now, but it really comes down to the psychology of trust.
Trust. How so?
Well, when you are operating in a fast-growing digital economy like Solana, trust is, frankly, your absolute most valuable currency. A readable name gives a business, a creator, or even just a casual user a real identity.
Right. You're not just a random string of numbers anymore.
Exactly. You stop being a faceless alphanumeric ghost operating in the shadows. You've essentially hung a shingle outside your door,
Hmm.
and that is where reputation can start to attach and actually accumulate.
I mean, I definitely see where you're going with that. If I'm buying digital art or sending money, I would way rather send it to dave.soul than 0x whatever, whatever.
Mm.
The anxiety just drops.
Because it proves there is a human on the other side.
Right. But if these domains are essentially digital locations, what makes one location better than another? Because logically, every single domain is mathematically unique.
Right, technically, yes.
Like there's only one exact spelling of any given word in existence. So doesn't that inherent mathematical scarcity make every single domain inherently valuable?
And that right there is the most common trap people fall into. They look at the blockchain, they see this mathematical uniqueness, and they confuse that with actual economic demand.
Yeah.
Scarcity is just the starting point. It's the absolute bare minimum requirement. Let's go back to your analogy of buying land with no roads.
Yeah, the digital coordinates.
Yeah, right. A piece of land in the middle of a literal desert is incredibly scarce. There is only one specific acre with those exact coordinates on Earth. But if there is no water, no infrastructure, and nobody actually wants to go there, I mean, scarcity is completely irrelevant. It's worthless.
So rarity definitely does not equal demand.
Yeah.
I could register a .sol name that is like 42 characters long, entirely made of random consonants, and yeah, it's a unique one-of-one asset.
But to your point, it's a desert lot.
Exactly. Nobody wants to build a business there.
Precisely. The real question you have to ask yourself isn't, is this name rare? The much harder, more important question is this name useful?
Okay, but utility in physical real estate is usually defined by physical traffic, right? You want the corner lot where 10,000 cars drive by every single day.
Sure.
If we are talking about a decentralized digital network, how on earth does a digital location get traffic if there are no cars driving by? Like, nobody is strolling down a digital sidewalk and accidentally walking past my blockchain name.
Well, this raises a really important question about how we define the geography of the internet. Because you are totally right. The domain does not have physical foot traffic. In the physical world, traffic is physical proximity.
Right.
But in the digital world, traffic is visibility. It's integration.
Explain that a bit more. Like, integration where, exactly?
Think of it like a highway billboard. Let's say your domain is integrated into the default drop-down menu of a major wallet app. Or it shows up clearly on a decentralized marketplace.
Okay, I follow.
And just for those who might not know, a decentralized marketplace is basically a peer-to-peer platform where people buy and sell digital assets directly without a middleman taking a cut. So if your domain is visible as the creator of an asset on that platform, or if it's embedded in automated payment flows or linked on your social media profiles, all of that is digital traffic.
Oh, wow. So it's about impressions.
Exactly. Every time a name is displayed on a screen instead of a raw coordinate, a person is passing by your digital storefront.
Oh, I get it now. It's not about cars driving by. It's about how deeply embedded that name is in the apps and platforms people use every single day.
Yes, exactly.
Because if I see a clean, recognizable name over and over in my wallet app, my brain automatically registers it as safe. Familiarity breeds trust, and trust creates value.
You nailed it. A name that appears again and again becomes a familiar landmark in the ecosystem.
Okay, so if visibility and trust are what actually create value, how do we categorize these digital storefronts? Because the research breaks down these domains into different zoning districts, categorized by their distinct utility.
Right. The zoning analogy is really helpful here.
So let's trace a user's journey. When someone first enters this digital economy, the absolute first thing they want to do is secure their own identity, right?
Absolutely. We call this the residential neighborhood of the digital city. Personal property. Basically, these are first names.
And the appeal here feels incredibly immediate and, like, emotional to me. If your name is Mike, you don't want Mike with 3 underscores and a number.sol.
No, nobody wants that.
You want the clean version. You want the digital equivalent of a neat, well-kept front lawn with your name on the mailbox. The natural buyer for this real estate is pretty obvious.
It is obvious because humans are just deeply attached to their identities. We want our digital presence to reflect who we are, simply and cleanly. But, once a user sets up their personal identity, where do they go to actually interact with the economy?
To businesses.
Right. They move to the commercial real estate district. These are category names, words like loans, tickets, art, or cars.
Okay, I really want to break this down for the listener because this seems to be where the big money sits.
Hmm.
Say I own the domain for loans on the Solana network. How does that practically benefit me, or whoever buys it from me, to build a business?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, a strong category name acts as an instant digital storefront.
Okay.
Let's say a developer builds a smart contract. And a smart contract is basically just a self-executing piece of code that automatically processes a transaction like issuing a loan when certain conditions are met, entirely without a bank teller.
Right, completely automated.
Yes. But if that developer hosts their lending service at a random, messy address, they have to spend millions of dollars on marketing just to explain to users what their code actually does.
Oh, I see.
But if they own the domain loans, the domain itself does half the marketing work for them. It tells the user exactly what happens there before they even interact with the underlying protocol. It completely explains itself.
Wow, it's the ultimate category killer.
Mm.
The builder gets this massive head start because the name is the destination for that entire market sector.
Exactly.
But, okay, let's say I'm not a commercial bank or a lending protocol. Let's say I am just a high net worth collector or a prominent figure in the space, and I want something that just screams prestige.
Then you are looking at status property. These are your short names, 3-letter or 3-number domains, clean acronyms. You can basically think of them like digital license plates.
Right, and here's where it gets really interesting to me. I could definitely see the flex in that. Having a 2 or 3 character domain shows everyone that you are either very early to the network or you have the resources to acquire prime real estate.
It's a huge status symbol.
But does literally any short name work?
Uh,
Because I feel like XQZ is technically a short 3-letter name, but it's an absolute nightmare to actually say out loud.
and that is a crucial distinction that separates average assets from premium ones. Shortness grabs attention, sure, but it still requires quality to hold value.
So pronounceability matters.
Oh, massively. A short name that is just a random jumble of consonants might be rare, but a short name that is actually pronounceable or has a secondary meaning is infinitely stronger. It has to look good on a screen, yes, but it also has to be something a human being can comfortably say out loud in a normal conversation.
Right, because memory matters. If I can't remember it, the value drops. Which actually leads perfectly into the next zone, where memory and clarity aren't just about status, they are about absolute security.
Yes, the utility zone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's talk about utility property. These are action-oriented names, words like pay, tip, send, or donate.
This is perhaps the most pragmatic zone of all. We talked earlier about the anxiety of sending funds to the wrong place, right?
Oh yeah, the worst feeling.
Well, we have to remember the concept of immutability here.
Yeah.
In a blockchain environment, mistakes are irreversible. If you paste the wrong raw coordinate, there is no customer service hotline to call.
Nope, no taking it back.
There is no bank manager who can reverse the charge. Your funds are just gone forever.
Which is terrifying for a new user trying to navigate this space.
Exactly. So a clear, trusted action word provides massive utility. A payment name does not need a long explanation. It tells the user exactly what to do.
Right, send.sol is pretty foolproof.
Exactly. In an environment where a single mistaken character means total loss of funds, a clear action word replaces fear with absolute confidence. It dramatically lowers the barrier to entry for the average person.
That is huge for mass adoption.
Yeah.
But okay, I want to pivot to something that completely blew my mind in the research.
Let's hear it.
We have talked about humans setting up personal names, commercial names, and utility names. But there is a whole new category emerging. Future property.
Yeah.
Specifically, names for AI agents.
Yeah, this is where things get really sci-fi, but it requires looking at where the internet is heading, not just where it is today. We are entering a phase where AI agents are not just chatbots that answer trivia questions, they are becoming independent economic actors.
Wait, let me stop you right there because we need to unpack that. An AI acting as an economic actor, you are saying a piece of code could have its own wallet, manage its own money, and execute complex financial trades without a human ever clicking an approve button.
Yes, absolutely. Imagine an AI trading bot that analyzes market data and automatically executes trades 24 hours a day, or, an AI research assistant that you pay to scour the internet, compile reports, and actually purchase data sets on your behalf.
Okay.
If these agents are operating on the blockchain, moving funds around and interacting with other smart contracts, They cannot just be anonymous scripts running in the background. They need an identity.
Oh, I see.
They need a public face so that humans, and frankly other AI agents, know exactly who or what they are interacting with.
That is wild. So buying agent-related names, words tied to bots, automated services, AI assistants is essentially placing a bet on this automated future. It's like buying the digital land where the robots are eventually going to want to build their offices.
Precisely. It is thesis-based speculation on the future architecture of the digital economy. You are betting that non-human actors will need human-readable names to establish trust.
Okay, so we have basically mapped out the whole city. Personal, commercial, status, utility, and future properties.
Yeah.
But, if you are listening to this right now, maybe looking at the domain city in your own wallet, or maybe you are thinking about entering this market, how do you actually avoid buying junk?
That's the million-dollar question.
Because it sounds like there are thousands of empty desert lots disguised as prime real estate. If there's so much garbage out there, how do I actually test if a name is good before I spend my money on it?
Well, the most rigorous framework for this revolves around a concept called optionality and finding what we call the natural buyer.
Okay, let's start with optionality. What's the difference between a broad name and a narrow name?
Optionality is basically about choices. A broad name gives the owner multiple paths to monetization.
Give me an example.
Well, if you own a name tied to the word market, that domain could be used for data analytics, it could be a shopping hub, it could be for decentralized trading, or it could be an auction house. Because there are so many credible, diverse uses, there are many potential buyers.
Makes sense.
But a narrow name paints you into a corner. It can only be used in one highly specific way. So the more choices a name provides its future owner, the more demand it generates.
Which actually brings up a brilliant test from the source material, the pitch deck test.
Oh yes, this is crucial.
This is something every listener needs to apply to their portfolio right now. If you find a domain name and you have to spend 5 minutes explaining to a friend why it's actually really clever and valuable, it is a weak name. So what does this all mean?
It means the reaction should be immediate. I get it. I know exactly who would want that. If a domain compresses its meaning so perfectly that it requires zero explanation, it has passed the pitch deck test.
Right.
If you say you own loans.sol, everyone instantly understands the value. But if you own like XYZ Finance Hub number 4.sol and you have to explain the intricate lore behind it just to justify its value, you have failed the test.
It means the best names generate instant recognition. But this leads to the biggest trap in this space, I think. The confusion between something being available and something being valuable.
Yes, a very dangerous track.
Just because a name is sitting there ready to be registered for a few dollars, it doesn't mean it's a hidden gem.
Right. I mean, it is usually available for a reason. It might be too awkward, awkwardly spelled, too long, or completely disconnected from what users in the ecosystem actually care about.
Exactly.
Good digital real estate investing is not about hoarding everything you can get your hands on. It is about extreme selectivity. You have to stop asking yourself, can I buy this? And start asking, why would someone else actively want to buy this from me?
Who's the natural buyer?
Exactly. Who is the natural buyer? And if the answer is vague, you just walk away.
But let's say I do everything right. I find a great category name. It passes the pitch deck test perfectly, has a ton of optionality. I acquire this prime digital commercial property. Am I going to be a millionaire by Tuesday?
Absolutely not. And this brings us to the liquidity trap, which is just vital to understand. Digital real estate is incredibly illiquid. You cannot just list it and expect a buyer to materialize instantly.
But why is that? I mean, if it's such a great location and it passes all the tests, shouldn't someone snap it up immediately? Like if I put a great physical house on the market, it sells in a week.
Because you have to compare it to the right asset class. Unlike a highly liquid token, say, a unit of a cryptocurrency that is completely fungible and anyone can trade at any second on an open market, a specific domain needs a highly specific buyer.
Right, it's not one size fits all.
No, it's more like selling a specialized commercial warehouse than selling a share of stock. A premium category name for a decentralized lending protocol might be incredibly valuable in theory, but it requires waiting for the exact moment when a well-funded development team decides to build that specific protocol and realizes they need that exact name to launch it successfully.
I see. So you are basically waiting for the developer to finally show up to your empty lot, point at it and say, this is exactly where I need to build my skyscraper.
Exactly. And that requires two things: taste and immense patience.
Taste meaning.
Taste means understanding the culture of the network. It means understanding what builders actually want to create and recognizing value before the crowd does.
And patience is just holding on.
Right. Patience means having the stamina to stomach the holding costs and wait until the ecosystem matures enough for that specific demand to materialize. It is not a get-rich-quick flipping game at all. It is a waiting game.
Which really brings us to the grand thesis of this entire conversation. At the end of the day, acquiring a .sol domain isn't really about the specific string of letters you're buying. It is a thesis-based bet on the underlying network itself, isn't it?
It absolutely is.
You are betting that as the Solana economy scales, as millions more users and complex applications flood in, readable, trusted human addresses are not going to be a luxury flex anymore. They are going to be strictly necessary infrastructure.
It is the belief that the raw, scary coordinates will eventually be hidden away entirely, replaced by these clean digital storefronts and identities. If you believe the ecosystem grows, the value of the best locations must grow with it.
Exactly.
But, before we wrap up, I do want to leave you with one final thought, going back to those AI agents we discussed earlier, because it truly shifts the paradigm.
Oh, please do, yeah.
We have spent this entire deep dive talking about humans, right?
Right.
Human investors, human builders, human creators buying these domains to set up identities for themselves or their digital tools. But consider this. As AI agents become increasingly sophisticated, independent economic actors generating their own revenue and managing their own wallets.
Okay.
What happens to the digital real estate market when an AI agent decides, completely on its own, to independently negotiate and purchase its own premium domain name?
Wait, really? Just on its own?
Yes.
Well,
What happens when an algorithm scans the market, realizes it is losing business because its location is bad, and decides it needs to upgrade its own storefront to increase its trust and visibility, executing the transaction entirely without human intervention?
Wow, an AI deciding to buy a better address on digital Main Street just to improve its own bottom line. That completely changes our definition of who the natural buyer even is. That is an incredible thought to end on. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Hopefully, the next time you look at a digital asset, you won't just see a random collectible or a string of cryptography. You'll apply the pitch deck test. Look closely and ask yourself, am I looking at a useless patch of desert or am I looking at the next prime location on digital Main Street? Keep questioning the spaces you inhabit. We'll see you next time.